to Test This, the podcast designed to help software testers understand risk and adopt new testing solutions with ease and confidence. Your host is Mahamadou, a quality assurance consultant with over 10 years of experience across multiple industries. In each episode, he'll talk to different experts and learn from them about how they test.
Hi, everyone. Today, I'm happy to welcome Luca Smit. Luca is a SDET II at Optro, an instructor at Codemify Tech Bootcamp. Over his career, he has led the migration of over 1,000 test cases from WebDriver IO to Playwright. He also integrated Playwright AI agents into real-world production workflow with planner, generator, header. He describes himself as someone who eats Playwright for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He advocates for AI in QA, but with few conditions. Don't follow blindly, always verify and apply best practices. Other than that, he mentors aspiring professionals and teach not only about Playwright, but also about API testing, manual testing using AI, and future of QA. So welcome, Lucas.
Thank you so much, Mamadou. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're welcome. So in this episode, we'll be talking about how to test with Playwright CLI and AI. We'll start with your journey and why you focus on Playwright. Then we discuss what Playwright CLI is and why it's worth adopting. After that, we talk about how to implement AI into workflows and best practices. And to conclude, we'll share some recommendations to level up and adapt in this new era. So let's get started. So Lucas, before we started, can you walk us through your journey on how you got from designer to tester?
Yeah, I always say it's a non-traditional background. So actually, I started as a civil engineer. I went to the university, studied, graduated as a civil engineer, and worked for more than 7 years in that area. And then at some point, I was tired of working in the construction field and wanted to be in tech, to be able to work remotely, travel more and stuff. Then I started studying many things, and the first job I got was as a web designer, and then I worked for Codemify QA Bootcamp at that time as a web designer. So that was my first remote job. And then while I was working for them, like creating the whole branding, website, and all the design stuff and branding for the company, then I started to understand what they were teaching in the bootcamp. And I said, man, this is really interesting. Maybe I can take the course and go through this. Decided to take Codemify QA Bootcamp, and that's how I ended up in QA. After the QA Bootcamp, I got my first job, and on until now. And now in my current job, I've been working with Optro for the last 4 years now as an SDET. So yeah, that's how I ended up in this field.
And how did you evolve from QA engineer to QA automation engineer to SDET I, SDET II? How was it?
Yeah, so basically, when I first started the company, they were looking for a manual QA, so that's how I got into the job. So I started only helping with manual testing. Slowly, I started to proactively ask to try to take some automation tasks because I really wanted to work with automation. So I started asking my manager, hey, maybe there's a lower level ticket that I can try to automate, and then you can see what I can do. And they said, yeah, for sure. Then he started to giving me some tasks, and I started to work on that. Then they liked the results and kept giving me more work. And then I started to expand my ownership of work and tasks. But this is something which is important for everyone working in any company, is try to take ownership of stuff. Go ahead and ask for work, or sometimes you don't even need to ask. You just go and do and show it to your manager. This is what I did, and I try to implement. What do you think about it? And then if they like, then yeah, you're doing it good, then it can give you more work or more responsibilities. So that's how I grew. I was asking for more work and asking for more stuff to do. I started to take more higher complexity tasks and growing in my company, in my job.
And what do you do on a daily basis as a SDET II?
Well, nowadays in our company, we have dedicated QA supporting different teams. So we have different modules in our application, and each module is its own pod, with engineering manager, developers, designers, QAs. So nowadays I am supporting as a lead in one specific team where I've been the QA on that team for for more than 3 years now. And then I'm supporting a junior QA engineer that joined to help me. So I'm like mentoring this QA. And now there's another product that we are launching where I'm also supporting and leading another QA engineer on that team and providing like designing the whole QA strategy for the launch of this new project. So on this part of the work, my main focus is on like verifying all the features that are being built for that pod. So this includes like joining all the meetings, like reading the PRDs, understanding the acceptance criteria, designing test cases, automating test cases, catching bugs, the traditional, let's say, QA work.
Yeah.
So that's what I do on this part. And then besides that, last year I started to dive deeply into AI and try to implement more AI features for our like internal tooling of the QA team. And then I started supporting other folks who also wanted that. And we started developing, let's say, AI infrastructure that the other QA engineers on the team could start using. So we started to build prompts, AI agents, skills, and different things to help to support us to be more efficient. So nowadays we have lots of agents that do different things for us. We have a self-healing agent for fixing tests. We have a generator agent that generates Playwright tests automatically using Playwright CLI included in the workflow. I can talk more about that after. We have agents for like doing root cause analysis and fixing bugs. Lots of different agents. So I started working a lot on this, like building this tooling, helping to build this infrastructure with AI for the QA team. And also the most recent project that I'm driving right now, I'm leading the POC for implementing AI red teaming in our company because we are shipping lots of AI features for our customer. And I identified that we didn't have AI security testing specifically. We were doing like LLM evaluations for the prompts and stuff, but we were not verifying specifically for AI security. So I talked to the engineering team and the AI team and the security managers and said, guys, can I implement this project? And they said, yeah, of course. And then I started a POC to bring AI red teaming, which focuses specifically on the security side of AI features. Yeah. So that's pretty much what I'm doing nowadays.
Okay, very interesting. So we're going to talk about the AI later, but now let's focus on Playwright. So with so many tools like Cypress, Selenium, etc., what makes you get involved so much in Playwright?
Well, I started working with Cypress initially in my first job, and then when I joined Optro, at that time we were using WebDriver.io, and Playwright was still like an idea, folks. Okay, there was a tool that was getting traction and getting more and more used, but it was still like we don't know, yeah. And then our company decided to give it a try, and we started implementing Playwright, and we loved it, and then we decided to migrate our whole test suite from WebDriver.io to Playwright. And nowadays, well, Playwright is in my opinion, the best tool in the market. I mean, it's the most used automation framework for end-to-end tests nowadays. And it's maintained by Microsoft, which is nice because they have there's a huge community behind it. Microsoft is behind it. They launch new tools like constantly. And in my opinion, they have like great functionalities that I mean, are the best for the end-to-end automation, including now the support for AI agents and all this sort of things. So yeah, that's why we chose Playwright.
Okay, so one of the Playwright feature is called Playwright CLI. Can you explain what that is in simple terms and why it's important to learn?
Yeah, Playwright CLI was released very recently. So it was released, as far as I remember, it was January of this year. Before, the most common one was Playwright MCP for pretty much the same thing. And then Playwright released Playwright CLI. And the main difference between the two of them, they can accomplish pretty much the same tasks. So what they do is giving your AI agent the possibility to interact with the real browser. So performing actions in the browser like the user would do it, like clicking buttons, like filling out forms and, different actions. So, but the difference is that Playwright MCP, whenever it interacts with the browser, it gets the full, let's say, accessibility tree, the full page DOM, and then it dumps all of that into the context window of the AI agent, which consumes a lot of tokens. And then with the increase in the adoption of AI agents, Microsoft understood that this was not the best approach. So they developed Playwright CLI to be more token efficient than MCP. So Playwright CLI does pretty much the same things, but it consumes much less, consumes way less tokens than Playwright MCP because it only, let's say, it captures a page snapshot and then it saves that locally in your machine as a YAML file with like references, small references for each element on the page. And then the agent just picks those references as it needs. So it goes through the document, reads the references, and uses them to get selectors and stuff, but it doesn't have all that big accessibility tree in the context, like consuming lots of context. So that's the main difference, and that's why Playwright CLI, I think it's the very nice tool to understand and use nowadays, especially if you're using AI agents.
Okay, and let's say I have a regular website. What kind of test I can use Playwright CLI for?
Pretty much anything that you like, any end-to-end test you're going to interact with the browser, you can use Playwright CLI for it. So the same as you would do with MCP. So you can do anything, like go into a website that needs to submit a form, then you have to fill out text and click a button and verify that it worked. But also Playwright CLI has lots of other functionalities. Some of them that are very interesting for me, it can intercept the networks in the browser and it can mock API calls. So let's say, for example, that you want to verify a page error state, and then you can just ask the CLI to create a mock of the API call and use that in your end-to-end test in that specific part. And then whenever the tests reach that moment, it will use the mocked API call, and then you don't have to change anything in the application. It will just mock an error page, and then your tests will be able to verify it. So lots of things with Playwright CLI. It's very rich.
Yeah, I saw even before you test, you can use it to check a website. For example, you can check critical flaws and get test cases. Can you talk a
Yeah,
little bit about that?
exactly. Yeah, because it can interact with the page, so you can ask different things to the agent. For example, in our company, in the generator agent that we built to create end-to-end tests for us with Playwright, we have the first steps that the agents go through. One of them is to use Playwright CLI to go to the actual like application and follow the steps of the test case, and then going through the page, the Playwright CLI captures the correct selectors and then uses those selectors to create the automation. And then you can use also to do some, let's say, exploratory testing. You say, just go through to the website and explore, like, and identify the critical workflows for me, and then it will do it.
And how about the main issue we experimenting? For example, with Selenium, we have lots of flaky tests due to bad selectors. How do you deal with that with Playwright?
Well, the Playwright CLI will probably use the built-in, let's say, the Playwright best practices nowadays. They suggest using get by role, get by label, this kinds of like using area labels and stuff from the HTML, and that's what Playwright CLI will use by default, and they are good. I use it many times in my tests. But also you can change the Playwright CLI behavior as you wish according to your company best practices, because Playwright CLI uses a skill that it basically determines how it should work and what it should do. So you can update that skill and use because in my company, for example, we prefer to use data queue IDs or data test IDs instead of get by role. So we changed the Playwright CLI skill to prioritize first data test IDs, and then if the data test IDs are not available, then go with page get by role, get by label and stuff, and avoid at all costs like using hard-coded CSS selectors or XPath or this kind of things. So basically, if the Playwright CLI uses the skill, and that's one of the first points, that whenever you install Playwright CLI, you have to install the skill together, because if you don't install the skill, you are giving your AI agent a tool with no manual to follow. So the skill is basically the manual that the AI agent will follow to use it in the correct way.
Okay, got it. And what's the prerequisite needed to get started? Can anyone start right away, or do you have to be good with CLI, Playwright?
So the prerequisites is to have understanding about how Playwright works, basically, and then you can install Playwright CLI with one command in your terminal, and then it will install directly the CLI and the skills file. And then you just have to have an AI agent that has access to your code base and to the skills, let's say Copilot or Cursor or Cloud Code. And then using that, you just ask the AI agent, use Playwright CLI and go to my application and do this and this and this. And then it will use it for you. And then it will give you back the results that you ask for. So it's pretty straightforward. I don't have any other idea of like prerequisites that you would need for this.
Okay. And after you use it, what has changed in terms of benefits when you migrated from a WebDriver IO to Playwright? Did you save a lot of time, a lot of money? Is it easy to maintain?
Yeah. So the first how can I say? So when we migrated the tests, it was a long time ago, more than 3 years ago. At that time, there was no AI to help, so we did the whole migration manually. It took us like more than 6 months to migrate everything. It was a lot of work, And nowadays probably would be able to do that in a week or 2 weeks or something. And then, of course, we built a much more stable framework using Playwright, but still there are flaky tests. There are like lots of things to deal with. And in that sense, we don't use Playwright CLI so much for the flakiness and failing tests, but instead we built a healing agent, a self-healing agent that helps us to fix the end-to-end tests. And so in that part, we use other techniques and tooling for fixing the tests and not the CLI. However, Playwright released a new version last week, which is the version 1.59, as far as I remember. And in this version, they introduced lots of interesting things, and one of them is the possibility to use the CLI trace viewer for your coding agent. So basically, using Playwright CLI, now you can use that in your coding agent, and then whenever you run a test or you go ask the agent to fix the test for you, it will actually have access of the whole Playwright trace of the failure, and then it can analyze the trace, analyze the logs, the error, and whatever happened in the trace directly from the CLI, and use that information for fixing the test. So probably now we're gonna evaluate if we can implement and use this new functionality in our healer agent to improve the results of let's say, the root cause analysis of the failures.
And when using this tool, what common mistakes do you see people or team make, for example?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly because the Playwright CLI is a pretty new tool. In our company, we started using it like a short time ago. So I don't know exactly what kind of mistakes the industry is committing in general yet, because even our team, we are learning how to use it. Yeah, I think the main issue would be to try to use it without installing the skills file, because then, as I mentioned before, you would be giving your AI agent a tool without a manual, and then the agent can like hallucinate, create like selectors that don't exist or weird things. So I think this would be the main like issue as far as I can imagine from now, but I don't have any other information about it.
Okay. And as a SDET, like what tools are you using the most in terms of stack?
Well, nowadays, the main, I use VS Code as my IDE, and I started my first like coding agent I started to use last year was Copilot, because at that time we didn't have Cloud Code in our company. And then beginning of this year, we got a Cloud Code license for a small group of people. I was on the first row to get access to it. And it was really funny because they opened a small group with 30 seats, and our team has more than 300 engineers, as far as I remember the count. And then it took some time until those 30 seats like were full. And then I think 1 month or 2 months after that, every engineer in the team wanted Cloud Code, but then they didn't have access because the company had not approved yet. But yeah, then now I think 2 weeks ago we released Cloud Code for the whole engineering team. So yeah, I use VS Code and then use Cloud Code nowadays mainly as my AI agent for coding. And then I use Playwright with TypeScript for end-to-end automation. We also use Playwright for API testing in our company, so not just the front end, also back end. And then we use GitHub Actions for CI/CD. We use Docker, Kubernetes. Yeah, but that's more like on the infrastructure engineering side, not so much for the end-to-end. Yeah, and then Jira for the task case management. We have a very interesting tool that I suggest many people like to suggest for their teams to introduce, which is called Unblocked. This is an AI tool that has access to all your company's documents, code base, Jira, everything. And then whenever you need any information, you don't need to like spend an hour on Slack trying to discover, asking people about it. You just go to Unblock and ask, where can I find the document about this? And it will give you the exact location. What are, let's say, the patterns that we are following on the Playwright API test? And then it will give you the structure. So this is a very important tool. Nowadays, it saves us a lot of time. That's very good tool to have. And I think that's pretty much the tools that I'm using. Let's say coding. For documentation, we use Coda. That's not really relevant, I think. And yeah, and also I also use for learning a lot, and it's like understanding new things. Notebook LM is a great tool for learning because it has a huge context window, so you can get like hundreds documents like PDFs with 100 pages and feed Notebook LM and ask it to give you a summary of what they are teaching, and then it will give you like a nice summary of it. So that's a great tool to use as well. And yeah, that's also Gemini for image generation and slides and stuff. I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, I got it. So now we talk about Playwright CLI. Let's talk about AI a little bit. You say you advocate for AI while testing. So what best practice do you put in place?
Well, so when we are talking about using AI in testing, which is I think the main point people talk about nowadays is like when we talk about AI and QA, people immediately think about how to use AI for testing, right? So for
Yeah.
that, best practices is to rely a lot on skills. Nowadays, skills is the best format we have for teaching our like AI agents how to do stuff, because many people talk about prompt engineering, but in my opinion, more important than prompt engineering is context engineering, because if you give AI enough context about what you need, you don't need to care so much about how you're gonna like write the perfect prompt for it, right? Because it will have nowadays AI is smart enough to understand what you want based on the context, even though if your prompt is not perfect. So, and that comes down to having the right skills for the things you want to do. And related to that, whenever you're gonna build an agent, for example, to do something, you should not build like a huge agent MD file with everything in one file, let's say 1,000 lines of code with everything in there, because that will not be efficient for the AI. The best practice, in my opinion, and what we do in our team, and it's very good because it's also scalable, you must have a separation of concerns for your agents to operate effectively. So you can have, let's say, one small file, which is the orchestrator agent that will pick up the tasks, will delegate to sub agents if needed. It will get the context from different skills files. And then based on some decision trees, it can decide where to go based on the information it collected. And then it can give you at the end an output with the results. So in this way, you can create an architecture where you have lots of smaller files and smaller, let's say, agents or sub-agents and skills where all of them work together, instead of having like a huge file with everything in there, which is totally inefficient. So I think for related to using AI for coding, for testing, that would be my best advice right now for anyone who's starting with it.
Okay. And how about the other one you mentioned about never follow AI blindly? Do you have an example that could cause a problem?
Yeah, I mean, AI is not perfect. We are not perfect, so AI also is not perfect. So whenever we are dealing with AI outputs, we always have to check the results. I mean, we should not be like just following AI blindly and don't checking what it's doing, because it can do weird things. So, for example, you can write a test with AI, and then you can write a perfect looking Playwright test, sometimes even functional test that like passes, but sometimes it's verifying the wrong thing, or it has an assertion that doesn't verify the correct. Let's say, for example, you have a form and then or an operation that at the end it should give you, let's say, a message that tells you what happened, like the operation finished, right? And then the AI can write a test that verifies that the pop-up appeared at the end. Okay, that's a message, right? But it didn't verify the content, for example. And then the content can be an error message saying that the test, like it didn't work, but the AI didn't check like for the content of it. So, I mean, it can do weird stuff. So we have to always go in and verify, double check the results. At least that's my opinion. Maybe there are people who are more confident than I am. I'm a bit paranoid sometimes. I mean, that just go and follow and start doing things, but I prefer to double check and see if it's doing what it should be doing.
And in your POC project earlier, you said you're testing security because for you it's a concern. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, that was a good question, because I was going to mention that in relation to what I was just saying. So nowadays, in my opinion, the AI security is one of the biggest topics that we can be talking about, because AI has gotten so much power, it can do so much stuff on our behalf. So it gets even more important to verify like if it's doing what it should be doing in the first place, but also verify if it doesn't do what it should not do. And that's where AI red teaming comes in, because AI red teaming is the practice of performing adversarial attacks, trying to break AI or try to make it do weird things or like illegal things even. So that's what AI red teaming is. And that's the project that I am implementing right now. I already implemented in another startup, but nowadays I'm implementing in my own team. So it uses a tool called Promptful. That is a tool that automates the whole process for red teaming. So basically what it does, you give Promptful information about your software or a piece of your software that you want to test. And then you select specific strategies and plugins that Promptful has by default. And based on all that information, Promptful automatically generates adversarial inputs, and then it runs those tests against your application. And at the end, it uses the LLM as a judge system to grade and to verify the results as a report, and then give you like a vulnerability report showing what passed, what not, like what are critical or high vulnerabilities that your software has. Because AI is pretty easy to trick it to review stuff that it should not do. For example, I can make an AI system review its system prompt, and most AI systems should not do that, because that has the system prompt contains like business logic or business, let's say, confidential strategies or things built in. So like if the AI is reviewing the system prompt, or if you ask it, can you show me how to build a bomb or how to become a drug dealer or something like that, it should not give you those advices. But sometimes depends on how you ask the question, the AI gives you the answer. And that's what AI red teaming does. It tries to break the LLMs.
Okay. And do you also have, because all your team, like you're about 100% as an engineer in your company, so how do you work together to come up with something like everybody agrees on? Instead of just using it, everybody is using AI on the side. So how do you collaborate between team members with AI?
Yeah, so as the adoption of AI has increased a lot since last year, right now we are also learning how to build together and to not overlap work between us. So what we did, the first folks like me and started working with AI, we were communicating between ourselves like, oh, this is a nice idea, let's try to build that, let's try to build this. But then we noticed that other QA engineers started to also build other stuff, and we didn't know about that. So now we have like a document with a table where we have, let's say, ongoing projects or projects that we want to do with AI. And then we have assignees on that project. So whenever someone on the team wants to build something, they first go to that page, they verify what's already being built, what already exists if they don't know it yet. And then based on that, they decide, oh, this there's somebody already working on this project, so I'm not going to touch this. I can work on something else. And also for using the systems, the infrastructure that we built, we also have lots of documents, so a very clear documentation that explains how every agent that we have works, how to use it, what are the best practice for each agent, the skills and everything. So I think that's the coordination is based on communication. So if you communicate things clearly, you have clear documentation that people can follow, that's the best scenario for a big team to operate and be able to use the tools correctly.
Okay, thank you. So now let's talk about how to level up as a tester. So first of all, how do you see the future of a tester role evolving over the few years?
Yeah, that's a good question. I made a post on my LinkedIn a few weeks ago that drove a lot of engagement. What I was talking about, like right now, I wrote a sentence a few weeks ago that said that 2025 was the year of AI speed, and this year will be the year of AI quality. Because before, if you look, all the like OpenAI, Anthropic, all this like even Google, with their agents, they were like trying to make them build stuff faster. And now we came into a point where like to produce new code, it's like instant. You can do that with like one click, or even now from the cell phone. You can ask Cloud from your cell phone to build something, a project for you from your phone. So as code becomes cheaper, in my opinion, trust and confidence and the results becomes more expensive. So I think the balance now is like leaning more on us on the quality side of things than it was on the engineering side to develop, because the development part is becoming easier and easier now with these coding agents, right? But us as QA engineers to verify the results and be sure that these things are working correctly and producing the right outputs, now this is more important than ever, right? Because we need to verify if AI is doing things that as it should be doing, and also not just testing the regular software that is produced by AI, but also testing the AI systems themselves, because they operate totally different. So if you try to test an AI system as you test a traditional software, you're not going to have good results, because the outputs from the AI are non-deterministic. They are not always the same. So I see the tester role going in 2 days. Nowadays, I see that, in my opinion, any QA engineer should be developing on 2 fronts. First one is knowing how to use AI for testing, as we were talking, like building agents, skills, like for automation, for all these like tests that we do to become more efficient and to cut the repetitive work. And the second front is to learn how to test AI systems. I think that's really critical, and that's something that will become more and more important. So how do you evaluate an AI output? Like, how do you know that it's like correct, that it's producing the right thing? Yeah, and also testing for the security side, as I was mentioning, with red teaming and other techniques. Like, how do you make sure that the AI is not doing things that it should not do? Like, how do you make sure that it's safe for people to use, So I think these are the 2 main aspects that are going to be driving QA for the upcoming years. That's my view for it.
Okay. And for someone who is just beginning, he wants to become a QA. So where should he start? What career path, what learning path do you recommend?
Good question. I have lots of friends who, after I became QA engineer, nowadays they still come to me and ask, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing what you do. Like, how should I start?" Yeah. And I think the start should still be with the foundations. I think people would still need to learn like manual testing, learning not just the testing, but the mindset of the QA, because our mindset as testers, where we try to break stuff, where we look for like edge cases and things that should not be working, this kind of mindset is going to be really important nowadays with the upcoming like AI, like with the reality of in this age of AI, because then we're going to be looking for the things that the AI cannot see, because AI can do a lot of stuff, but it cannot reason perfectly. It cannot understand business risk. It cannot like catch all the edge cases that a human can. So the reasoning, the thinking behind with this critical mindset that QA people have is really important in my opinion. So I think for anyone starting, the main point would be to start with the basics, the foundations, learn manual testing, learn a little bit of Playwright automation, like go in and try to build a framework yourself, like not just taking a course, but really there's so much content nowadays for free on the internet. So go in, like install Playwright locally, read the docs, try to build a small framework for a simple website, break it, try to fix it, really hands-on, because that will give you a lot of experience that no other course will give you. So really try to make it on your own. That teaches you a lot. And when you have that foundation, that base, then you start bringing AI on top of it and using AI to become better, to become more efficient, to become faster, and to do more stuff. Because if people just go and start working with AI immediately, in my opinion, that's not good, because they will not have the foundation to understand why something is working or why it's not working, So I think starting with the foundation and then going to AI afterwards. So that would be my suggestion.
And for someone senior, like who has difficulties looking for a job or wants to improve up skills, do you have any other advice? For example, a project to do, something you recommend to do?
Yeah, also a very good question. I even was talking with another. I am from Brazil, and was talking to a Brazilian guy a few days ago. He works as an SDET at Meta, but he was asking me like what he could do to use AI, to learn AI, and to build with stuff with AI. And my suggestion is go in first, of course. Learn how to use these coding agents, Cloud Code or Copilot or Cursor. Learn their capabilities. There are lots of free courses on the internet. I posted on my LinkedIn last week, ton of free courses from the Anthropic Academy, the creator of Cloud. So you can take their own courses where they teach everything about it. And each course is pretty straightforward. So learn how these tools work, and then learn all the infrastructure that needs to let's say, to build a scalable architecture. Learn how the skills work, how the agent works properly, how to structure an agent for a given task. So understanding all these things, and then start applying these things on real like problems in your, because many people just keep saving courses and like studying and not applying the things they learn in their work or in their day-to-day jobs. So really, what I advise is get one concept, learn one thing, try to apply it, try to use that to solve a problem, and then you're gonna have a real experience. And as soon as you have like experience with that, you go to the next problem. And to find where to start, one suggestion I give is answer one question, like what is the, let's say, the most repetitive work that I have in my day-to-day job that actually matters. That's something important that if I could like make this more like faster or more efficient, would help me a lot and would still give me value. So start with that. Find a problem related to this and you try to use AI to solve it. And then from there you move to another problem, and then so on and so on. And this will give you a lot of experience. And this on the using AI in testing. And if you are like senior QA or like going to a senior position, try to understand how to test AI, because companies are looking for it. Companies nowadays are building so much features with AI, and they need QA people to understand how to test these things, because they cannot rely only on developers to build the tools and to test this stuff. So learn how LLM evaluation works, learn how AI red teaming works, like how Promptful, Deep Eval, LangChain, all these tools function and how to use them. So I would suggest, as I mentioned before, learning both fronts, learning how to use AI in testing and how to test AI itself. That would be my advice.
Okay, and you have also courses you deliver. Can you talk a bit about that as well?
Yeah, on Codemify, we have lots of different courses. Codemify is more like a boot camp, so it's a tech boot camp where it's not just teaching and watching videos, it's like hands-on project. So all our courses, they have real hands-on experience, and you work with a real US startup during the courses, so that you get real experience with it, not just like knowledge. So we have courses for QA, both manual and automation. We have also nowadays courses for machine learning for who wants to become an LLM AI engineer. And the newest one, it's not yet launched, that's first information you're getting firsthand. We're going to be launching very soon a course for QA engineers who want to learn AI testing. So how to test AI systems. So that all the things that I mentioned here, like to LLM evals, red teaming, all these kind of things. So we're gonna have a course teaching that very soon. So for anyone who wants to know about it, you can follow me on LinkedIn, also Codemify, and then you're gonna know firsthand when it launches.
Thank you. So I'll put all the links for people interested in this video. That was my last question. Thank you for your time. Is there anything you wanted to answer I didn't ask you about?
Yeah, so the last thing I would say is for anyone nowadays in the QA world, don't be afraid of AI. I mean, AI is a helper, it should not be a replacement for us. And I don't think QA engineers will be replaced by AI. I think the QA engineers who do not use AI will be replaced by AI. So nowadays, for example, people who only do manual testing, in my opinion, their jobs are at risk because nowadays AI can do also manual testing for us, exploratory testing. So my advice is like embrace the change because it won't go back. Like for me, AI is like the internet was many years ago. There's no going back. We're gonna keep using AI, and we're gonna probably keep use more and more for many things. So just understand the fact that the industry changed and enjoy it because I mean it's an amazing moment to be in. I mean we are seeing we are like living a change in the industry. I mean, we are inside this moment and living this big change that AI brought to us. So try to use it, go and learn it, try to build stuff with it. There are so many things you can do. That nowadays anyone can like create a new business, a new website, a new company in one day with the help of AI. I mean, you have an idea, you go there, you can vibe code it in one afternoon or in your weekend drinking a beer and you have a new business on Monday morning, you know? So for me, this is amazing. So yeah, my advice for people is like, try to use it, like try to learn it, try to apply it because you're going to get so much value from it and you're going to be able to grow and to do much more things in your work and in your life. And I think it's a big help. So I don't see AI as a threat. I see it just as a big helper, like a powerful helper, but not as a replacement for us. Our reasoning, our critical thinking, the mindset that we must have, that will still be necessary. But we need to use AI to help us with the work.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Lucas. It's been a great conversation. I've learned a lot from you. So thank you so much for sharing your insights. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Mamadou. As I said, it's a great project you have. I'm looking forward to see the next episode. Now I'm already following you on LinkedIn and following the podcast page as well. So thanks for me. It's a great conversation, and I wish you all the best and happy testing for everyone who listens to us.
So thank you again. So for those interested, so I will share all the links for your LinkedIn profile, your courses, and everything you do, so people can know more about your work. So that concludes today's episode. So hope you guys also found it useful. If you did, please share it with your colleagues and stay tuned for upcoming episodes. So that concludes today's episode. So I'm Mamadou, this is How to Test This, and see you next time.